commission meeting. At this time, I request that everyone please turn off or mute all cell phones and other electronic devices. And I would at this time ask you all to please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Applications for conditional use permits and rezoning requests will be heard during tonight's meeting, and the commission will vote on these applications and make a recommendation to the county council. The applications will then be scheduled to be introduced before the county council at the Monday, September 14th, 2020 county council meeting. Public comment for conditional use permit requests will be taken during tonight's meeting and at the county council meeting on Monday, September 14th, 2020. Public comment on conditional use permit applications will not be taken at any meeting of the county council held thereafter. The following documents are introduced as a matter of record for this evening's public hearing and regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Those documents are the Unified Development Ordinance of St. Charles County, including zoning maps, and the year 2030 Master Plan for St. Charles County, which includes the year 2030 Future Land Use Plan map. I see we have a quorum. Do I have a motion to open the meeting?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, sign aye.
Aye.
Okay. For those that have not been here before, I will give you a little brief summary of how this works. I will read into the record the application, and then we will hear from staff with their report. The commission may ask questions of staff at that time. Then we'll ask the applicant to come forward and present their application and answer any questions that the commission may have. Then we will open the application up for public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak regarding the application can come forward. Once we have closed the public hearing, then we will not be taking any other public comments. Then at that time, if any issues have been identified or arisen, we may ask the applicant to come back to address concerns that the commission may have. Then we will bring this back to the commission for a vote. If you're going to speak, we have these little cards. Right there by the podium. Please fill out this card. This way we know we get your name and address correct for our minutes. So they're right there on the table by the microphone. So if you're going to speak, please fill out a card and leave it over on this table. The first item on our agenda this evening is a conditional use request, 1319 Schlusserberg Road, application number CUP 20-07. The applicant property owner is Boone Valley Golf Club Incorporated. The property zoning is A/FF Agricultural District with Floodway Fringe Overlay District. Conditional use request is amending CUP number 496 to add a new golf training and lodging facility. The parcel size is 417.4 acres. The location is on the west side of Mall Road, west of the intersection of Mall Road and Schlussersburg Road, located in Council District 2. Staff. Yeah.
This, as you stated, this is a request to amend. As you stated, this is a request to amend an approved conditional use permit. The zoning for this property, which is more than 400 acres, and again is located in the southwestern portion, far southwestern portion of the county. this property, which is more than 400 acres, has been used for a golf course for many years. And golf courses are allowed by right in the A agricultural district. However, membership clubs or private clubs, that is a conditional use. So many years ago, in the 1980s, it's the exact years in your staff report, the Boone Valley Golf Course applied for and received a conditional use permit to operate a club. And when you read in the file for that, it's clear that the purpose for applying in the first place was to allow them to provide what the zoning regulations call transient lodging. But what that really means is a overnight lodging for members and their guests. And so it's not transient lodging in the sense of it's a hotel, but again, it's for a limited group of people who are members of the club. The conditions for that conditional use permit limited the guest lodging to no more than one facility. It's very specific. And so when the applicants submitted plans to the county in order to build this second facility, we commented back that it would be necessary to amend their existing conditional use permit. The location of this facility is located within the bounds of the golf course, and I'm sure the applicant can explain in more detail, but as I understand it, it's on the what I would call the practice green, and it's intended for people who want to participate in that. You know, maybe they're learning golf, maybe they're practicing, maybe they're receiving coaching for golf. And so that's the reason that this facility is located where it is. It's not located near any home. It's located really within the golf course itself. And in fact, there's a fire access road from the main clubhouse down to this facility that's along a golf cart path. And that golf cart path will also double as handicapped access. We'll have a wheelchair accessible golf cart, and that will be used to move people back and forth if necessary to this facility. That's the essence of the application. County staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of amending the conditions for this ordinance as provided in the written staff report.
Any questions for staff? Hearing none, we'll ask the applicant to come forward. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Brian McMurray, 1308 Wellington Valley Court, Chesterfield, Missouri.
Okay, go ahead, Brian.
Okay. My name's Brian McMurray. Like I said, I'm the PGA General Manager at Boone Valley Golf Club. Mr. Myers, put it out there exactly the way I would love to say it that way, as far as all the codes and stuff. So we're here with goals of building a 4,000 square foot building that offers 2 indoor-outdoor TrackMan simulators along with 4 bedrooms up above that can lodge some of our members and their guests. It's, like I said, it's set back. The architectural look of it is identical to our clubhouse, very tasteful, and we hope there's no issues with it at all.
Todd Meyer still the teaching professional?
He is still there, yep.
Any questions for the applicant? Hearing none, thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
We will now open the public hearing for CUP 20-07. Anyone wishing to speak regarding this application? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Anyone have any questions or comments, concerns? Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion to approve CUP 20-07.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hollander, Ms. Bain will make the second. Ms. Sally, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Clary?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhn?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Hollander?
Yes.
Ms. Mamer?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion passes. Thank you, sir. Next item on our agenda is a conditional use permit located at 102 High Ridge Drive. Application is CUP 20-09. The applicant, contract purchaser is Charles A. Rodebush II. Property owner is Missouri Department of Transportation. Current zoning is R1E, Single Family Residential District, 7,000 square feet minimum lot size. Requested zoning is C2, General Commercial District. Conditional use request is boat and recreational vehicle storage yard. The parcel size is .37 acres. The location is bordering Interstate 64 on the northeast side of High Ridge Drive in the Fieldcrest subdivision near the cities of Lake St. Louis, O'Fallon, and Dardine Prairie, located in Council District 2. Staff.
All right, as mentioned, this is currently owned by MoDOT. It's located right here, if you can see this vacant ground. It was purchased by MoDOT in 2003 and used mainly for the improvement of the Highway 4061 corridor to interstate status. So that's why it's owned by MoDOT and kind of left behind there. Previous to MoDOT making the improvements and turning this into an interstate, this property had access via this High Ridge Drive, which also turns right here, but it had access out onto the highway. Now, this conditional use permit is subject to also a rezoning, which we'll discuss at its hearing a couple more places down the road here. But first of all, it would have to be rezoned from R1E to C2. After that, then it becomes a conditional use request for outdoor storage of boats, RVs, and trailers. So the concept plan that was presented did address the major concerns that staff has, or most of the major concerns that staff has. The residences are located on the south side of the property. There is a 40-foot wide road easement back here to Century Tel, and the applicant has agreed to put up a fence and landscaping to help block the view of the property from the residential lots. When we were talking about development on this property, the major drawback is that you do have to access the property through the residential subdivision, since the connection to 4061 has disappeared with the major improvement. So the other consideration is whether or not an outdoor storage facility adds to the scenic value along the interstate. And I know when you say scenic, you're not looking at the mountains or anything like that, but is this something that we do want to be located along that corridor? Staff is recommending denial mainly because of the access through the residential subdivision. But we do ask that if, in the event that you do recommend approval, that certain conditions be added. We have the 5 conditions listed there. I can read them. A site plan substantially complying to the attached concept plan. Number 2, no conditional use be put in active use until all conditions of approval have been met. We would ask that the limitation of hours of operation be to daylight hours with access to the property by employees only. Any outdoor lighting shall use full cutoff light fixtures, and we do request that the fencing that's installed include the 90% blockage that we can ask. And this would help to keep the view from the interstate and also the residences in the subdivision. We did receive one letter of opposition.
Any questions for staff?
Is there a fence around it now?
There is nothing around the property right now. It's just vacant grassland. There is a storage lots further to the northwest there. The zoning on these properties are C2, and that is a consideration, but those were put in place prior to having access cut off from 4061.
Now, how do they access that property?
Believe they all access, and the applicant can give you more information on this, but they also own a storage yard down here. I believe they own this one. I'll let the applicant answer that, but, or this one right here. Yeah, this one right here. They do own this one, and they do all have to come through the Fieldcrest subdivision right now.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Hearing none, we'll ask the applicant to come forward. Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Charles A. Ritterbush II. My address is 20 Harbor Point Court, Lake St. Louis, Missouri, 63367.
Okay, go ahead, Charles.
I'm the owner of C&J Boat Docks. Ellie, if you could put the picture back up, the Google Earth picture that shows the highway. I bought the property, if you could zoom in, 20 years ago, right next to the property that I'm looking at purchasing from MoDOT. So I have a long, it's about 2.1 acres that I own. I purchased the property. Within 1 year, I knew MoDOT was going to close my access, and I have to come to the subdivision. And St. Charles County knew that because that was in the major plan of what was going to work with the Page interchange. So knowing that, I knew, and my customers knew, they were going to have to come through behind Walmart and Lowe's and come to the Fieldcrest subdivision and come into the front gate of my property. Since then, I think St. Charles County and all the areas around me have now, it's kind of a necessary evil. You cannot park anything in your garage or your driveway for more than 2 days. You have to get a police report about it. So I've been trying to buy more property for the last couple of years, and it's been hard to find anywhere that'll approve it because it's either residential or they want to hold out for heavy industrial. So I've got my piece of property that's C2. The next door neighbor to me, which is TC Ford, he's now retired. That's the parcel between mine and the piece I'm looking at buying and developing. That's the one in red, 856. He's retired, and I'm in talks with him right now. He's moving most of his items off to Lake of the Ozarks, and where I'm looking at buying his property. So then I would extend mine through his. St. Charles County has said that they would close off the road, vacate the road, so then I can fence, and that would all be mine. It'd all come through my main entrance. Most of my storage customers come in once or twice a year. They get the boat in the beginning of the season, put it in the water and use it, store the trailer there for the season, and come get it in the wintertime. So there's not a whole lot of boat traffic. And the main business I do is construction work on the water. We build docks, lifts, seawalls, marinas. So I have to go physically meet the customer, see what they want to do. We load the work there and take it to work on the project at the different lakes we work on. So we don't have a whole lot of access coming in there all day long. And there is a fence already along the highway, so I would just need to add on to the 3 sides, and then the road would be vacated. And I would actually, once TC Ford is finished moving his product or his last parts out of there, I'm looking at buying that from him, and then it would continue my property all the way through to this.
Okay,
Let me
now-
show you where that is, or,
now, where, oh, sir? Take the microphone with you.
I can yell pretty loud.
Make sure it's on, tap it and see.
Hear me? I'm not a DJ, so how do you turn it on? Hidden? I can yell loud enough if you can hear me.
Sorry.
It's fine.
This guy's not working, you may just have to
Okay,
talk real
I can yell loud.
Talk loud.
Is it okay to take my mask off?
Sure.
You can zoom in and see this. So this is my storage lot, and the far end of it is my entrance. So you come through the subdivision. This is my building where I work out of. Come up Field Crest, come to my gate. Come down my whole property to store. This is TC Ford's property that he's looking at. He's retired now, wants to sell the property. He's moving his product out, his cars out as we thought. And this is the MoDOT lot I'm looking to buy. So my main end goal is purchase this now, work on gravel and fence it in. This is the road that, I think this is, this is the road that St. Charles County would vacate. This is TC Ford's property. So after I buy this, this is already zone C2 commercial, and he's got trailers and construction worker doing concrete on it. He'd vacate this, and I connect this all, the road would be vacated, and it would all be one property, and all come through my main entrance.
But anyone entering your property at
The far end.
the far end still has to come through the subdivision.
Right.
Okay, that was your question.
Yeah.
And that's how it's been for the last 19 years. I've owned the property about 20 years. Within 1 year of buying it, I knew I was gonna lose the highway access. That's why I got the property at a pretty good value. And after, within 1 year, my access was down here. MoDOT came in and cut the entrance. And then everybody had to just come to the subdivision. And that's how, after this highway work was partially finished for the Page interchange, MoDOT took the Midwest Marine line, which is the second line I bought 3 to 5 years ago, at the far end of this subdivision. And MoDOT returned that to Midwest Marine, and they continued their business there for 3 to 5 years, and then the county tanked, and they got out of business and sold it. So all those customers also, and they have for 40 years, gone through the subdivision to get to Midwest Marine, because they never had access off the Highway 40. And that's this lot right here. So to go
Anyone have any questions for the applicant? If you wish to speak, sir, you have to come up and I have to swear you in.
I'm his father.
Yeah, come up here, right there, raise your right hand.
Okay.
You solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings from the pains and penalties of perjury.
Yes, sir.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Charles Rudabush Sr. I'm at 2041 Hawks Landing Drive, Lake St. Louis.
Okay, go ahead, Charles.
All I wanted to add was there's a lot of concern about all this extra traffic going through the subdivision. We store like 103 boats on the part that's up there right now. 80% of the people come in, pick up their boat in the spring, put it in the lake, put the trailer back, and next fall they come back and pick it up. Another 10% people come in and pick their boat up, go down to Lake of the Ozarks on the holiday weekends, and that's it. We've got less than 5% of the people that use the lot daily. We probably, my son and his workers probably use the lot as much as anybody else. So there was a question, one of the things that came up, this is a picture I took. This is looking from the access road back to 64. It's all bushes and trees along the highway right now. And this is what the site-proof fence will look like on the side towards the homeowners. The other issue with the property, planning and zoning said they want to leave it residential. You've only got 80 feet. This is an easement road that's 40 feet wide. That leaves us 80 feet from here to the fence line. And we've got utilities that run through here. Water, gas, sewer. So by the time you get a setback of 25 feet, and you're gonna stay in front of the utilities, you could build a house that's more than 40 feet, 35 to 40 foot deep. So it's really unusual land for residential. That's why we think this is a natural evolution. Plus, the fencing is gonna give these homeowners a little bit of a sound barrier from the highway noise. And like I said, we've been over here for 25 years, and to the best of our knowledge, has never got a complaint from any neighbor. We think we're good neighbors. We try to take care of them, so.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for me?
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Rodebush Sr.? Oh, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone have any more questions for the applicant? Hearing none, we'll now open the public hearing for CUP 20-09. Is there anyone here wishing to speak regarding this application? Anyone wishing to speak regarding CUP 20-09? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Bring this back to the commission. Anyone have any additional questions for the applicant? Robert, I do have a question. What's the process for the county to abandon that little stretch of roadway?
It would take county council action, but the Rotobushes have been speaking with the highway department, and because it doesn't really serve, it's a county road that doesn't serve any parcels other than these parcels, they would have an interest in vacating that right-of-way, the county highway department would. So I think they would recommend for approval.
Anyone else have any questions for the staff?
We've already talked to Charles Peter.
What's this gonna look like from the highway, looking over? What kind of fencing is gonna be around it? How's it gonna look?
You want to have the applicants come back?
If you don't mind, yeah.
Come back, please.
Currently, there's a, I guess St. Charles County or MoDOT has the fence up. There's already a 6-foot fence on the highway side, so I would merely connect to it. And my current property that's 2.1 acres long, right now has a 6-foot fence that I've never been asked by St. Charles County Planning and Zoning when I put this development in 20 years ago. I only had to put site-proof fencing on the residential side. Most of my customers like where they're at, because they can drive by the highway on their way to work and see if a storm blew their cover off or if it's sagging with rain in it or something. So I've never been asked before from St. Charles County to
You're gonna
put,
fence the whole thing, obviously.
I would just connect to the already existing MoDOT or St. Charles, whoever's got that fence there, and put my other 3 sides up.
Will this be an electronic gated
Well,
entry?
For now, if TC4 does not come through and sells property like we're already in negotiations for, then I would have to put up a open gate with just a chain, or 2 gates that would swing open. It wouldn't be an electronic gate. It would mainly be for my work, my employees and myself to come put the boats in, probably once over the winter, take them out in the spring, put them back in, and they would be empty the rest of the time. But in the future, I'm trying to buy the parcel next to it and continue my property all the way down, so everybody would come through my main entrance that does have a code to get in.
Any other questions with the applicant?
No. I do have a comment, though. You know, most of the time you look at this and you say, well, what else could it be used for? And I don't see any other use for this 0.37 acres other than a continuation of what you're already doing there.
Thank you.
My observation.
Good, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, questions for staff?
Wouldn't we approve it with the conditions? I mean, is that how we approve it? Say,
Yes, what you would do is your options are to approve it without any conditions, or approve it, excuse me, as proposed, approve it with conditions, or recommend approval with conditions, or recommend denial. And then the county council would make the decision.
Okay. So the chair will entertain a motion to approve CUP 20-09.
Motion?
Okay, Mr. Holler, is your motion to include the conditions recommended by staff?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second?
second.
Ms. Bamer, made the second. Mr. Cleary, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Kuhn?
No.
Mr. McDonald?
No.
Mr. Hollander?
Yes.
Ms. Bamer?
Yes, with conditions.
Ms. Sally?
Yes, with conditions.
And I vote yes. So it passes 4-3. Okay, thank you. The next item on our agenda is a rezoning request. The location is 3807 Towers Road. Application number RZ 20-10. The applicant is St. Charles County Ambulance District. Property owners are Terry and Janet Hackman. Current zoning is R1A, single-family residential district, 1 acre minimum lot size. Requested zoning is rezoning approximately 0.96 acres of a 1.82 acre tract of R1E, single-family residential district, 7,000 square foot minimum lot size. The 2030 master plan recommends low-density residential uses, 0.25 to 1 acre minimum lot sizes. Parcel size is approximately 0.86 acres. The location is on the southwest corner of Towers Road and Cox Hill Road, located in Council District 7. Staff.
As mentioned, the subject property is on the southwest quadrant of Towers Road and Cox Hill Road. And for those who may be listening, not familiar with the location, generally it's south of Highway 94 and north of the Missouri River. The area has been long developed with residential subdivisions, and most of the zoning is currently in the area is currently R1E, single-family residential district with a minimum lot size of 7,000 square feet. On the southwest quadrant of that intersection, for whatever reason, there are parcels which have never been platted before, and one of those parcels happens to have split zoning. Split zoning meaning that the northern half is zoned R1E, again, 7,000 square foot minimum lot size, and the southern half of that parcel is zoned R1A, which is minimum 1 acre lot size. I would add that this area already has sanitary sewers, storm sewers, and other infrastructure in place, so that would allow for redevelopment. And so the applicants are before us tonight to rezone the green, what's shown as green in that the map. That's the southern half of the parcel that's on the southwest corner. And their goal, and they can tell you about this in more detail, but their goal is to split this one parcel into two, and to ultimately, I understand, build a house on the southern half. And this rezoning would allow that to take place. So that's the gist of the application. The master plan recommends for what's called low-density residential, which is 1 to 4 dwelling units per acre. So the proposed R1E zoning is generally in conformance with that, and it's certainly in conformance with prevailing pattern of zoning in the area, which is, again, R1E. So county staff would recommend approval.
Any questions for staff? Hearing none, we'll ask the applicant to come forward. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Allison Gouch, Civil Engineering Design Consultants, 10820 Sunset Office Drive, Sunset Hills, Missouri.
Okay, go ahead, Alice.
Hi. Good evening. I'm here on behalf of the St. Charles County Ambulance District. I also have Craig Mafessel with the district here for any questions that might come up with operations. So we will be back next month to present to you all a preliminary plat for the rezoning or for the split of this lot. And that's really what's driving this rezoning request. So this is still kind of conceptual, but what we're showing on here is on the north part of the lot, we would have a new base 22 for SCAD. The southern half has no plans right now. The owners actually also own and live on the lot to the south of this. We show a house on here as kind of a idea of what could happen. To my knowledge, there are no plans to do anything with it right now. So the existing lot is 1.2 acres right now, and with the rezoning, or with the split, we'll have 0.93 acres on the north part, which is generally already zoned R1E. The south part would be 0.89 acres, and that is generally zoned R1A. Now, the zoning line and the subdivision proposed line are roughly in the same place. They don't exactly correspond. But so really the purpose of this is because we're creating a lot that would be under 1 acre that doesn't meet that current zoning on the southern part of the lot. So I think Robert, showed this already, but just to reiterate, looking at the surrounding, it is primarily R1E all around here. There's a small island of R1A, and we're asking just to make this whole lot R1E so it's consistent, so we can do this subdivision, which we'll present to you next meeting. The thing driving it is purely lot size. We can't go under 1 acre in R1E. The uses are exactly the same. If you read the zoning definitions, the uses are defined together. So there is no difference in what can be on those lots as far as the zoning uses. There are some small changes to the setbacks. The setbacks get slightly smaller for R1E, but it's really this lot size that's driving it. SCAD doesn't want to purchase a bigger lot than what they need. They want to be responsible with taxpayer money. So, that 0.9 acres is really what they need. And splitting this lot in half preserves the rest for another use and allows them to build what they need.
Questions for the applicant? Now, with the base station, what would be the operation of this station?
I'd like to let Craig speak to the operations.
Come up.
Please. You solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Go ahead, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
Craig McFessel, 9746 Travers Lane, St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay, go ahead, Craig.
So, specific questions on operation, it will be an EMS station, operated 24 hours a day. Average call volume out of that station, I would guess, would be about 8 calls per day.
Where is the, say, closest base station to this one?
That would be on Sycamore Drive off of Old Highway 94.
Okay, so this will reduce your response time?
Absolutely, yeah. This is an area that is served by that base on Sycamore, but this would give us much better response time to the area of Towers of Cox Hill.
Any questions for?
Of course, next month will be when you'll show the site plan, but I'm trying to visualize where you're gonna have the entrance to this.
That, I believe, P&Z has reviewed that, staff has, would have, the entrance would be onto Towers, and then we would also, I'm sorry, the exit from the property would be onto Towers. Entrance to the property would be off Cox Hill.
How many people will be at this facility at any one time?
This, our initial plans would be just a one-truck base, so one truck is a two-person crew.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, seeing none, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We will now open the public hearing for RZ 20-10. Anyone wishing to speak regarding this application?
Good evening.
Please raise your right hand.
My name is Christine Zika.
Hold on.
Oh,
hold on,
sorry.
Hold on. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I will.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Christine Zika, 701 Cox Hill Road, St. Charles, Missouri, 63304.
Okay, go ahead, Christine.
So first of all, on August the 7th, I sent a protest letter, and as of today, I also sent videos of what that intersection actually looks like, and that was not mentioned by staff, so I'd like to make sure that that's in the record. So my husband and I have lived at 701 Cox Hill Road now for 7 years. Over the past 7 years, we have enjoyed the entertainment of actually watching people run through that stop sign and that four-way stop on a regular basis. The 4 videos that we sent to you today were actually taken yesterday. It's less than 15 minutes of car after car after car running through that stoplight with pedestrians and with bicyclists. So at first, when we heard that you were planning on looking at rezoning this to a house or to having multiple houses on there, our concern is the safety of that neighborhood. Right now, we've had 1 accident this year, but we've had many near misses. In the last storm that we had, I saw a truck turn left onto Cox Hill from Towers, gun it, and in the rain, because he hydroplaned, went all the way into a 180, faced towards Green's Bottom, and then thought it would be fun to do it again, turned around in the intersection and gunned it again. These are the types of people that we have going through our intersection at any given time. When it was just adding more houses to that intersection, our request was, please table this until you've come out to our house on any given day and watch that intersection and tell me if you think it's safe to add more houses on that block. But now, today, what was not in that application is that I am hearing that we're planning on putting an EMS station there with at least 8 people there at any given time, and now we're going to increase the load of that intersection with emergency calls, in addition to the people that are running that intersection. This is a dangerous mix. And I request that the council table this until they can actually look at this intersection for themselves and understand what it is that they're trying to do and what danger they're going to give to the neighbors that are already there, the subdivision on our north side, which, please forgive me, I know where they are, I just don't know their name. When they're trying to cross that intersection, when the bicyclists are coming up from the Katy Trail, trying to cross that intersection, and when the people are turning without stopping left from Towers onto Cox Hill, this is a recipe that I don't want to see in my neighborhood.
Thank you, ma'am. And we do have your videos. Robert, we do have the videos?
We do have an email that we received today, and also I noticed that it was sent to all the commissioners. So if you don't have it currently, it's in your inbox.
I received mine.
Okay.
So they're part of the record.
Thank you. And my husband actually had more that we could not send to you because of the size of them. They were for longer periods of time. But it shows more of the same. Pedestrians in the walkway that are with cars that are rolling through stops, people running those stop signs without any regard whatsoever to the safety.
Stoplight.
No, it was a stop sign. So it's a 4-way stop sign. It's not a stoplight.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak regarding RZ 20-10? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes.
Please state your name and address for the record.
David Zika, 701 Cox Hill Road, St. Charles, Missouri.
Go ahead, David.
So in the videos, if you watch it, the pattern they're already doing is like a traffic circle. You know, they just kind of slow and go through, and everybody just, it's sort of like a ballet going on. You know, nobody's really stopping. They're all kind of flowing through that intersection. So again, as the original thing, if you're, you know, we were thinking, all right, you're going to add more residential. We thought, because that's the way it read, not an EMS station, nothing against that, but that sounds like even more traffic coming and going, calls, and I guess you're running sirens pulling out of there,
Sir,
and noise coming out,
and
noise coming out, you know, from there is concerning me. How that is being zoned residential for a station. That isn't a residence to me. So that's another, I don't believe that's clear way it's being presented. But so as what we'd like to have, you know, the look at is just turn it in to a traffic circle, a roundabout, to reduce, you know, the running of stop signs, but have it in a controlled, you know, manner. If you're going to add load to that on top of it that isn't being, you know, controlled, then to put in a traffic circle that would be safer and you know, control that intersection a little better.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak regarding RZ 20-10? Oh, you're the applicant. No, you'll get to come back.
Okay.
Anyone else wishing to speak regarding RZ 20-10? Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing on RZ 20-10. We'll ask the applicant to come back.
Thank you. Just wanted to reiterate a couple quick things. The SCAD base station is allowed, being a public building, under either zoning. The existing zoning for both halves of the lot now, R1A, R1E, both allow the public building in that zoning. So we're not asking for any change in use. The second thing I just wanted to mention is that the county has asked us to look at site distance on Cox Hill Road, and that'll be included in our subdivision submittal. So we are looking at that site distance, just to make sure that from the south you can see the entrance or the exit.
Will you, and I forgot, will you exit on the, exit the property on Cox Hill or enter on Towers? Okay.
Am I getting them mixed up? Yeah, so, yeah, that's right, Craig, isn't it?
I
It's,
may have misstated, so this would be entrance to the property, and this would be
An exit on-
from the garage bays onto Cox Hill.
on Cox Hill, so the ambulances are exiting onto Cox Hill, and we are looking at site distance on that exit. It was the one place the county said, you know, that looks like, we just want to make sure that it's visible, and it looks like it's going to be, but we'll present that next month.
And will there be sirens going off?
State statute mandates when sirens need to run, so it's tough for me to say, it depends on what type of call it is.
Are there any mandates on the speed?
Sir?
of it?
Come back.
Sure.
This is where he has.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Are there any limitations of the speed that they can, the vehicles can go through there?
There is, again, that's dictated by state statute. Unfortunately, I'm not a paramedic, so I honestly don't have an answer to that. But I do know that there are limits as to how much faster they can go than the posted speed limit.
Okay, thank you.
How many exits and entrances did you say there were in a day? Did you say 8?
On an average, I would guess that would run 8 calls a day from that location.
So if you got that, and then you got a house on the other lot.
So the house was just shown for,
Well, I'm talking about the amount of traffic that this whole thing is gonna generate. It doesn't seem to be very much.
correct.
You know, 8, I mean, a residence could generate 8 ins and outs in a day. So that was my question. Thank you.
And will it be a 24/7? I assume it'll be
It is, yes.
24/7.
Can I ask, you mentioned at the beginning of your presentation that one of the reasons that you're doing this is because it's a .96 for and anything under 1 acre has to be done this way, is that?
Anything under 1 acre would no longer meet the R1A zoning, which is on the southern half of the lot. So when we take about 0.9 acres for SCAD for the north part, that leaves less than 1 acre on the south part that the owners are retaining. And so we wouldn't be allowed to do that subdivision with the current zoning, because it would create a lot that is slightly too small.
At this base station, would you be running 2 shifts or 3 shifts a day?
Just 1 shift,
1 shift?
yes. And currently, they operate on a 48-hour shift.
Okay.
So 1 crew, 2 people would be there for 48 hours a time.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Is there gonna be any kind of, looking at where it is on the intersection, is there gonna be any kind of lighting that like when you come out, in case there are people zipping back and forth through there, that you're about to pull out, and, you know, there's been a call or some type of visual notification to let people know that that's happening?
At any of our current stations, we do not have that. What we do is signage, just to notify that it's an emergency exit or entrance. But we have never done any type of specific lighting. You're probably referring to what fire stations do.
Something like that, a visual so people know, you know.
We have not done that in the past. And I guess that would be up to staff recommendations if it's necessary.
Have you, in terms of Cox Hill there, slopes very steeply toward Green's Bottom.
Yes.
What kind of sight distance are they going to have coming out of that as let's say, making a left turn onto Cox Hill?
That would be.
That's exactly what we are studying, and we'll submit that for next month's meeting with the subdivision plat, because that affects the driveway location, affects where the subdivision line ultimately ends up. We are looking at that. So far, to me, it looks like it's going to be fine, but I haven't finished that study.
Any other questions for the applicant? Hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now bring RZ 20-10 back to the commission for consideration.
I do have a question for the staff. Could this same thing be accomplished by just applying for a variance on lot size?
Well, to apply for a variance, there are certain criteria to obtain a zoning variance, and they're very specific. I don't see this as qualifying for the criteria for a variance because it would be self-created, for instance, and it would allow it would allow something that, well, let me just state that it wouldn't meet the criteria, I don't think, for a variance. But yes, they could apply for a variance.
So is it conceivable, because the variance would then just keep that southern lot, one property. Is it conceivable that they could subdivide that, with it being 7,000 square feet, into 3 to 5 lots? And have driveways coming in onto Cox Hill?
Driveways, no. If a property were zone R1E, single-family residential, it could be re-subdivided potentially, but it would need to have an internal street to provide access from an internal street rather than from Cox Hill Road.
And would there be some sort of sightline parameters on if it were a street going in because of the proximity of the driveway of the ambulance?
There would, yeah, we would. The county's highway department and development review divisions would review the site distance, ensure that it'd be safe for that speed. And basically what they do is they take an elevation of the height of the driver in the driver's seat, and then they look up and down the roadway for a specified distance based on the speed limit and how fast people are traveling and stopping distance. They base it on that.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any plans in the future for any type of improvement in that intersection, whether it be a traffic circle or speed lights or anything like that? Is there any type of, that we know of?
The master plan, the thoroughfare plan as part of the master plan doesn't show major improvements to this roadway. I'm very much open to passing along these comments that we've received tonight to the highway department so that they could take this into consideration. And also, so that they could discuss these.
Maybe we should pass them along to the county police department.
Yeah, I would suggest two things. One is to pass it on to the county police department, and the second one is for the folks that live in this area. There is a process. It's not very difficult to ask the county council to require either, like you say, a roundabout or signals or whatever. Are you saying you've already done that? Okay.
Christine Zika again. When I first moved into that neighborhood, I had spoken to John White and had suggested that we need to look at that intersection as late as last summer. I had spoken to Craig Fromm about it when he was on the planning and zoning because there is a concern about that intersection. So I have brought this concern up before, and apparently nobody takes me up on my offer to sit on my front porch and watch.
But what I'm saying though, there is a process where you could get, signatures, and you could bring it to the council. The highway department would then be required to take a close look at it and then present it to the council.
Well, then what we're going to ask you is that you table this because no resident is aware that there's actually a EMS station going in there. We were under the assumption that this was a house. We were under the assumption that there was as many as 4 houses with residents going into that corner. And that's what we would request. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff, comments, questions, concerns?
I think it's apparent that there is a traffic issue at that intersection. I just don't see how this really makes it a whole lot worse.
Well, it's not gonna make it better.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve application RZ 20-10. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Hollander makes the motion. Is there a second? Mr. Kuhn makes the second. Ms. Famer, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Sally?
Yes.
Mr. Cleary?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhn?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Hollander?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Application passes. Next item on our agenda is rezoning request located at 102 High Ridge Drive, application number RZ 20-11. The applicant contract purchaser is Charles A. Rodebush II. Property owner is Missouri Department of Transportation. The current zoning is R1E, single-family residential district, 7,000 square foot minimum lot size. Requested zoning is C2, general commercial district. Parcel size is .37 acres. Location is bordering Interstate 64 on the northeast side of High Ridge Drive in the Fieldcrest subdivision near the cities of Lake St. Louis, O'Fallon, and Dardenne Prairie. Located in Council District 2. Staff.
Okay, you're familiar with this property from the earlier hearing, but I will add a few more facts on this. This subdivision was platted in 1957 before zoning went into effect in 1959. That's when it was zoned residential. And as previously mentioned, access was from 4061. MoDOT is selling this property, I believe, on a contract purchase situation, pending the rezoning of this to C2. The C2 zoning is necessary for the conditional use permit that we spoke about earlier. The only thing that, other thing that I would like to add, when you're rezoning a property in a residential neighborhood via this access that we discussed earlier through the residential subdivision, every permissive use in C2 zoning is then allowed to go in here, not just a conditional use for a boat, RV, and trailer storage. So that is one other thing to keep into consideration. Well, we did discuss, or you discussed too, that yes, it's also not an ideal situation for a residence. We do have to put it back, if MoDOT is selling this property, we do have to put it back to its original zoning prior to them taking possession of it. That's why you don't see any zoning when we do put that on, is because of the jurisdictional factor of the state being over the county in terms of jurisdiction. So that's why there is no zoning on that. So we did put it back to the residential zoning in order to rezone this to C2. The land use plan does not call for this to be commercial. So based on that and the idea that every permissive use can go into C2, staff is recommending denial of this application. We did have one letter of opposition.
Any questions for staff?
So essentially, any retail or any kind of use could then be allowed if it weren't just conditional use?
Correct, subject to their site plan.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
No, that'd be the same though for that entire strip of C2. That's currently C2.
Correct.
Any other questions for staff? If not, we'll have the applicants come forward. I have to swear you in again since it's a different application. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Charles A. Ritterbush II, 20 Harbor Point Court, Lake St. Louis, Missouri,
Okay.
63367.
Anyone have any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, with the conditional use that has been passed, you can use it that way. What would be the reason to go the C2 zoning?
Because I'd like to continue my boat storage down. When I bought the property adjacent to this, it was already zoned C2. I actually didn't even know this was not all commercial along here because MoDOT owned the lot. I guess they had it when they did the Page Interchange extension work, and CenturyTel, which is right next to it, I would assume that was commercial, but I guess CenturyTel doesn't have to. They've got a commercial lot, and they've got commercial trucks that go out there every day, so I just assumed that was commercial until we came to double check that what it was zoned, and then we found out we had to go through the process to get the zoning changed. So that's why I'm here to ask to change it to C2, so I can continue the storage that I already do that's the lot next to it.
Okay.
Did that answer your question? Sorry.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
that's fine.
Any other questions for the applicant? Hearing none, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We will now open the public hearing for RZ 20-11. Anyone here wishing to speak regarding this application? Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing, bring this back to the commission for consideration.
Well, I think personally, since it's already rezoned for that conditional use he needs, and that the C2 could open up any and all other uses, I would personally recommend not passing it, but that's obviously going to be up to the board.
Now, the conditional use permit that we approved, it can stay the existing zoning.
It's subject to this zoning.
Yeah.
Oh, it's subject
It's
to
subject to it.
It's first of all, it's a recommendation to the county council, and this vote would also be a recommendation to the county council.
Okay, I wasn't clear.
But my question was, if we denied this rezoning, they could still continue as part of the CUP?
Yes, yeah, both applications will move forward to the county council. At this stage, it's a recommendation for both of them.
You know, I'd like to point out that, you know, it seems to me like it's just purely a technicality. MoDOT is turning this back over so that it has to be residential simply because they're returning it to what it had been prior to this. But I think it's pretty obvious there's no way this could possibly be residential at this point in time. So I don't know what else there could be except for, you know, the C2.
What could it be if it wasn't C2? I mean, what else could you envision, or what else could be put there? There's no access, no matter what you put there, they're gonna have to go through the subdivision, no matter what it is.
Well, I mean, if you said the residential, it still could be, although I admit it would be relatively minor. I mean, there would be certainly, with it being by the interstate, there would be well back from that. I'm just concerned about the amount of traffic going through that residential area. That's a high-density residential. There's a lot of driveways there, and coming out of there, you're going to have a couple of sharp turns with the vehicles with hauling things. I'm just concerned about the safety aspect of it, to be honest. I don't disagree with you. I think that in terms of the use, it is a tricky situation, but I do think there's a safety concern that needs to be considered too.
Any other questions, concerns, comments? Not, Chair will entertain a motion to approve RZ 20-11, which is the rezoning.
A motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mayor made the second. Ms. Sally, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Clary?
No?
Mr. Kuhn?
No.
Mr. McDonald?
No.
Mr. Hollander?
Yes.
Ms. Mamer?
Yes.
I vote yes, and that application fails 4-3. Okay. That concludes our agenda. For the record, application CUP 20-06, which was located at 3151 Hopewell Road, was withdrawn August 4th by the request of the applicant. That was an application we continued from last month. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the July 15th, 2020 regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
Motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, sign aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are approved. Planning and zoning division updates. Robert?
I sent an email to the Planning and Zoning Commission members a few hours ago that contains a link to proposed updated stormwater standards that the county is looking for public comments on. And for years, the county has had standards for the volume of water and the rate of water to protect downstream properties from flooding and property damage. In conformance with the Federal Clean Water Act and the Missouri Department of Natural Resources requirements, the county is now looking at adding stormwater quality standards to the county's standards. And so we've met with developers, development community, engineers, the Home Builder Association have solicited comments. And so now we're seeking public comments as well. And we believe that these proposed changes may move forward this fall sometime, is what we're thinking about. But I know that there's a lot of comments at Planning and Zoning Commission meetings having to do with stormwater, so you're welcome to review those, provide any comments that you'd like to make.
One of my favorite things, stormwater.
Yeah.
Anyone have anything else for the commission? Seeing none, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, sign aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.